I'm Yvette Nicole Brown. As many of you know, MPTF is near and dear to my heart. Back in 2012, I had the pleasure of touring their retirement campus, and 2 weeks later, I was in the audience for the second annual Real Stories, Real Lives event. Like many of you tonight, through Real Stories, Real Lives, I was introduced to the amazing array of people that MPTF serves. If you are inspired by the people you are getting to know, please join me in supporting MPTF. You can do that by following MPTF on social media and by donating via text now. You can do that by texting REAL, R-E-E-L, to 41444. For a few lucky donors, there is a gift package headed your way. If you're watching us live, check out the chat and we will be gifting the 21st, the 22nd, and the 100th donor. If you are watching this delayed, don't worry. We will also be sending a gift pack to the 500th donor. Included in your gift will be a copy of the 3rd edition of the Gray Quill Society Review, which Jason Bateman will tell you all about later. And please know that all of your donations go to help current entertainment industry members who need help paying for groceries, covering their rent, paying their medical bills, or for social support in addition to the services you are hearing about now. Unfortunately, you cannot take a tour of the campus like I did at this point. So, one of the safest ways to introduce you to Toni, one of my dear friends at the MPTF Country Home in Woodland Hills, is to ask another friend to share Toni's story with you. Consider yourselves blessed indeed, because up next is the Queen, Angela Bassett.
If you're anything like Toni Vaz, the last few months in quarantine have been stifling. It's almost like life has been put on pause, like we're all just sitting around. That's why tonight, Toni Vaz's story feels appropriate. When Toni was a kid growing up in the 1950s, she was stuck in the house too, but it wasn't a pandemic that kept her inside. It was a strict Caribbean mother. You see, Toni's parents were from Barbados. They immigrated to New York before Toni was born. But like most immigrants, leaving their nation behind didn't mean they left their values behind. That meant that Toni's world consisted of church, school, and home. Emphasis on home. After all, they were black children in the 1950s in New York City, which meant that Toni's mother was a black woman raising 4 kids alone in a foreign country. Now, being a black mother in this country today nearly makes you a superhero, so I can only imagine what it was like for her. Toni spent her childhood feeling restless. She knew that there was a whole world out there and she had a place in it. So Toni decided to enroll at the Joe Louis Modeling School. She was approached by another girl, an acquaintance, and asked her, "Why are you sitting around here in New York when all the action is in Hollywood?" Toni flew across the country, anxiously anticipating all the adventure that was about to be coming at her from every direction. And then when she finally got to Hollywood, she just sat around. But one day while she was sitting around, a neighbor approached her and said that her husband was heading to a studio to audition for a film. She asked Toni if she wanted to go down there with them. When they got down to the studio, the producers didn't want the husband, but they did need an extra for an African scene. So they asked Toni, the little girl who grew up in a house so strict that she couldn't watch movies, if she wanted to be in one. Finally, here it was, the thing that she didn't know she'd been waiting for. Her ticket to the new world. Again, Toni said yes. The movie was Tarzan the Ape Man, released in 1959. Toni's first stunt job. No audition, no training, no nothing. Toni's co-star was Leo the Lion. They threw a piece of meat in front of her at her feet and Leo the Lion came running through the scene. They thought she'd be afraid, but at that point, the only thing Toni was afraid of was boredom. Next thing she knows, Toni gets a call from Central Casting. The call was to do background for Anna Lucas. After she did that job, she got a call to do stunt work for The Singing Nun with Debbie Reynolds. There was no training for stunt work back in those days. Nobody really told me what to expect. They just said action and you had to go. Next thing you know, you're jumping, flying, or running away. Like when Toni was cast as an extra in Porgy and Bess, all she had to do was look out the window at Sammy Davis and Sidney Poitier. And after they said action, she looked out the window and all of a sudden the window came loose and she came flying out and landed on a mattress. She had no idea she was even doing a stunt. She thought she was really falling. Thank God it's not like that today. So with no training whatsoever, Toni kept doing more daring stunts. Like the one she did in Mission Impossible as a stunt double for Cicely Tyson. When she got there, the director came over and said, "I'm glad you're here. Now, what I want you to do is be the last one to get on the helicopter." Toni and 4 guys ran out of a car to the helicopter. As soon as she got 1 foot on board, it took off into the sky. Luckily for Toni, her scene partner hit his mark and pulled her right inside before she would have fallen out. And this time, Toni said she didn't see no mattress. Just like that, Toni had a career in the motion picture industry. There she was, a little Bayesian girl from New York doing stunts in Hollywood movies, having adventures that she never dreamed of. It was around this time Toni started traveling. Every time she had a hiatus, she took off and went to another country. Toni visited over 50 countries all by herself. She says traveling was fantastic. She'd land in a place where they'd never met a black person. Some people were so curious about her skin color, she'd let them touch her. Toni says traveling alone as a black woman was safer. Back then, people were curious, but friendly. They made her feel at home wherever she went. But Toni wouldn't travel alone like that now. Now with all of the news stories of police shootings in every part of the country, including our own backyard. Even though Toni came of age before the Civil Rights Movement during the Jim Crow era, when some people believed that black people's blood wasn't red, she feels like now more than ever, the world is infected with hate. That's it. Toni still remembers back in the day when she tried to get a story in the Screen Actors book. She sent $600 in to be in the magazine, and when they found out that she was black, they sent her money back. She saw that black actresses were not able to get the same roles as their white counterparts. If you were black, you were relegated to roles in movies as a hooker or a dope fiend. But Toni had never seen that kind of person. She didn't have hookers in her family. There were no dope dealers in the church. She wanted to know why the black people she grew up with couldn't be on screen. Where were the professional blacks who commanded respect? Why couldn't black people in the movies be smart? Why couldn't they be beautiful? Toni wanted good roles for herself and for everyone else who wasn't white. Toni, whose eyes had been opened by adventure, realized that instead of sitting around, she had to do something to change the narrative. She realized that we as black people had to demonstrate to the world how they ought to treat us. That instead of waiting for white Hollywood to celebrate us, to see us in a positive light, we had to do that for ourselves. She figured if we, as black people, honored each other, then others would follow suit. And maybe better roles would be created for us. This was how Toni came up with the idea for the Image Awards. At the time, she was working with the NAACP, and together they decided to create the NAACP Image Awards to celebrate black actors. The first Image Awards happened in 1967, 53 years ago, and dare I say, it worked. The parts for people of color are so much better today, and we have Toni to thank for it. For the last 50 years, Toni has had to fight to get her rightful place in history. And recently, the NAACP officially acknowledged that Toni was in fact the creator of the original Image Awards. That's the kind of tenacity Toni's always had in her. Toni completed over 20,000 hours as an extra. She did what she set out to do, live a life filled with adventure. She married not once but twice. She got to meet the Beatles. She never had kids, but she had a dog that she loved like a child. She has no regrets. These days, Toni's enjoying a slower-paced adventure on the MPTF campus. But she's not just sitting around. She enjoys the beautifully landscaped grounds of the live broadcast on resident Channel 22. She even took a star turn on an episode of Behind the Silver Screen where she told her life story. Even though we're in a pandemic and the MPTF provides residents a full life of activity on campus, and Toni never lost her sense of adventure. She's fascinated with Black Lives Matter, the young people of all different ages and nationalities standing together. A reminder that the world doesn't have to be so divided. We can learn from Toni's life. We can follow Toni's lead. Just like Toni, we can live life fully, unapologetically. Once we wake up to life's abundance and decide to stop sitting around, we can take the adventures others never thought possible.
Well, hi, Toni. I'm Angela, and it's such a pleasure and an honor to have this way of meeting you. So I am very honored to meet you because I am a proud recipient of about 13 Image Awards.
Oh, okay. I have one over here, too.
Yeah.
It'd be a pleasure one day if you come down here and say, come down here. Are you in Los Angeles?
I am in Los Angeles. Yes, I am. That would be a pleasure. I could come and see some of those pictures I see behind you on the wall. I'm sure those are from some exciting days.
Oh, yes. And do me a favor. Would you send me a picture of you?
Certainly.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Certainly. I know your address. I know where you are. So I'll send it.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll take your story with me.
Bye-bye, sweetheart.